and we are racing, and it's an absolutely electric start for the 42 of Will Bedford. Massive lunge on the inside by Patford on Alistair Camp. And around the outside. Oh! Oh! Big off! Oh. Straight in the gravel trap. Both cars out.
All right, we're live. It's Paul O'Neill, Anthony Jordan.
Thank you.
How are you, boss?
I'm all good. I'm a bit boiling, though. The sun is beating down on us here, isn't it?
How cool is it that we've got, well, that's a bit of a weird word to use, but nice new kit. I haven't had this for a while.
This
I know
is nice, isn't it?
The boys that helped us out at Croft, they were all kitted up in the new stuff, but we're looking good, I think, except for me. I'm a bit tight. This one should be an XL.
Should we talk about racing?
Milltek Sports Civic Cup. We've had a bit of a delay, haven't we?
We have.
It's been a bit of a nightmare. There's been a car off in Fiestas at the last turn, so they were just sorting out the posts and the barriers and stuff. But we're all good to go, I reckon. I think we're all good, ready to rock and roll. Cars and drivers are getting ready. Just quickly, before she goes, this is Maria. And Maria's, actually, you're holding up the assembly area today. Quick word, you spoke to you last year when you were here. Things still good? You just showed me a really lovely message that somebody sent to you on Facebook. How cool is that?
It's quite cool, yeah.
Tell me what the message was. I'll tell you. Basically said, well done, I can't tie my shoelaces, my name's Keith.
Yeah, it was about like how I'm like totally organised and like I win it perfectly and like how like enthusiastic I am and like how I keep it like controlled like outside the assembly area and like how I keep it controlled inside of the assembly area as well.
And that is the perfect marshal. Thank you, Maria. Have a good day.
You too.
Get on BMMC. Look at marshalling. We need you guys. We really, really need you guys. Right,
indeed.
Okay. Let's talk drivers.
Let's talk drivers.
Who do you want to speak to first, Captain?
I want to jump to Caton here first.
Yes.
Harvey Caton, who had his first podium at Croft, and he's about to go out in this one. He's all suited and booted. Harvey, my lad, I'm just going to squeeze in here. Harvey, you've managed to pick yourself a front spot to go out in qualifying. First podium at Croft. How are we feeling here this weekend at Oulton?
Well, tested yesterday. We showed some good results in the first test. We was a lot faster than I was last year, so it's a good sign. Obviously, last year I had some brake issues at this track, so I've got a lot more advantage coming into this round compared to last season. So I'm pretty confident with this track as well. So I'm feeling pretty confident for qualifying.
Brilliant. Well, we'll look forward to seeing you out there, mate. Stay hydrated. It's a warm day today. Paul, who you got?
Right, Morgan Bailey. Morgan, I was watching a bit of testing yesterday. I had a bit of an off at Cascades. All good, though. You look fast, mate. Was it just one of those things?
Yeah, we were struggling a bit with the heat in the afternoon because we had not as much running in the morning. We broke a drive shaft actually coming on the straight towards Cascades, and that put me off into the gravel. We ended up with gravel in the gearbox. We had to change the box. But, yeah, so see how we get on this morning. But I'll be happy with the top 5.
Quite confident you can win round here, can't you, mate? I mean, you're one of my title contenders.
We've had some good results here in the past, so see how we get on. Yeah, I like the circuit.
Top man. Wicked. Right. Where is AJ? Here he is.
I'm over here. I'm with Jack Hardin, mate. I'm with Jack Hardin, our current championship leader at the moment. 132 points. Jack, Croft wasn't all that yet. Didn't have a top 3 finish, but this weekend here, what are we expecting?
Yeah, just try and get some good results. We ran into a bit of a tyre issue at Croft, which just caught us out. Slightly spoiled our qualifying and our pace for the weekend, but we made the best of a bad weekend really. Still had 2 top 5 finishes and a second place in the first race, so yeah, aim to have a good strong first race today, qualify well as well would be handy, and then try and keep it sensible for race 2 and just pick up some good points really again.
Is Oulton one of the circuits that you enjoy?
Yeah, I love Oulton.
Yeah, it's a good one, isn't it?
It is.
Excellent. Don't tell Paul that, he'll get big-headed.
Yeah, definitely.
Cool. Excellent. Paul, over to you, mate.
Nice. Right then. I'm with my best mate, Dave Bookie. It was nice for you to come and say hello to me today. Have you cleaned inside here, mate?
A little bit, yeah.
A little bit, yeah. Did you like, you know when you used to get told off for not cleaning your stuff up? I've come to tell you, mate. It looks a bit dusty in here.
Yeah, it's a bit dusty, like, yeah, but we'll see how we get on. As long as the running gear's all right on it, it's set up, then we're good, aren't we?
You're pretty quick round here, mate. You should be golden. I know the marshal's just ready to rock and roll. But right, thoughts on quali? Give me where you're going to finish.
Top 10. If I can get in top 10, I'll be happy. I've done very limited testing, not been out in the car, been busy running the team and everything. So top 10, I'll be happy with.
Top man. Right, listen, I'll let you go. He's going to be going in a second. and yeah, let's make sure we don't get run over.
Yeah.
But AJ, what are you thinking, mate? Who's your bet for pole?
I mean, it could be anyone's game on here. You know how competitive these Honda Civics are. I'm looking forward to it. Let's just see what happens. We're going to throw to an ad break. We'll be back. Qualifying for Milltek Sports Civic Cup is coming up next.
Do you wonder why your competitors' websites appear in Google searches ahead of you? Then make a call to the SEO experts Woya and understand how your business can be more visible online. As the official marketing partner of TCR UK, you can now work with a trusted search engine optimization partner to increase web traffic, inquiries and sales. Speak to us for your free audit and quote by visiting woya.co.uk today.
For voice and data solutions at speeds that are simply out of this world, choose Maximum Networks.
Well, good morning, everybody. Welcome along to Oulton Park for the third event of the season in the Milltek Sports Civic Cup. Always a real highlight of any motor racing championship in the UK. A visit to the most picturesque racetrack in the United Kingdom. And it's always a track that produces good one-mate racing. Every time the Civic Cup arrives here, we get lots of action and expecting more of the same today. It's Andy McEwen here in the commentary box, shortly to be joined by Paul O'Neill, who's going to hot-foot it from the assembly area at the opposite end of the paddock and join me to cover what I know is one of his favourite championships in the country as well. The 2.6 mile length island circuit in use for this particular event, so we don't use the top end of the circuit for Island Bend, Shell or the Britain Chicane. We've instead got the tight hairpin at Island Hairpin, which is always a drama spot. The other thing we've got is a bright blue sky and ever increasing temperatures. The ambient temperature expected to get into the very high 20s by the end of the day. The track temperature will vastly exceed that, so it's going to be a tricky day this for the drivers. Civic Cup races are relatively short, only 15 minutes in duration, but even over 15 minutes, managing things like tyre temperature, brake temperature, driver temperature as well is going to be a real challenge. So lots for the drivers to think about over the course of what is going to be a busy day. Everything happening today, as I'm sure has been mentioned already, in the space of one day. So qualifying and 2 races, and of course a couple of the teams on this grid also running cars in other championships today, so they in particular have got their work cut out. Outlap completed, first flying lap starting to begin now. It'll take the drivers a couple of minutes to get up to speed though, which gives me time to welcome a remarkably unsweaty and not out of breath Paul O'Neill. Paul, you've been hitting the gym lately or what? After a jog of that length in these temperatures, I was expecting worse.
It's actually quite far, mate. It's not the length of the steady. It's not the length from the assembly area to here at the top of the pit lane. It's actually the stairs. Like literally, I've just done myself in. A lot of drivers complained about the heat already.
Really?
Yeah, really. I tell you what, it was warm down there. Me and AJ were just on your screens, and it's warm. But headlights are on. Capozzoli's on it, and yeah, these guys are getting on now, aren't they?
They are indeed. There is Dan McDonald making his way through that really tricky double apex right-hander at Druids down towards the final turn at Lodge, and we'll very shortly start to get some lap times in. It's Jack Harding who leads the championship though. He's had a fabulous start to the season, just the 1 win from the first 4 races. When you compare that to Dan Thackeray, who has 2 wins, you might be wondering why Dan doesn't have the points lead, but Jack has just been wonderfully consistent. He's only missed the podium once this season, a worst finish of 4th in the season opener at Snetterton, and he has been getting faster and faster in this, his second ever season of racing front-wheel drive cars, and Jack Harding really impressing at the moment, as are the two men on your screen right now, Paul.
Yeah, so Harvey Caton in that 54, he is in the pound seats now because Morgan Bailey's going to pull him along, and he's going to pick up a little bit of a toe as well. He's a bit too close for my liking, but if he backs off through the last corner and Morgan goes again in that 26, that red car, Harvey in the 54 just locks a front left. I don't know if he's made it through, has he? Yes, he has. Okay, so it's game on. This could be a really good next couple of laps for him.
Both of these drivers improving in the sectors on this lap. In fact, Caton isn't. Caton did not improve in Sector 1, but Max Edmondson did have the fastest first sector of anybody. It's just been beaten, though, by Will Redford. So Will Redford in one of the fleet of Pro Alloys racing cars. There are, I think, 9 or 10 of them on the grid in this weekend's races. Will Redford going faster than anybody else in his Pro Alloys car through Sector 1. Sector 2, fastest time is Max Edmondson, though. He's the third car in shot. So Max Edmondson in the Area Motorsport run machine. Remember, he had a win on the road at Snetterton that was taken away from him with a post-race penalty. He got himself in a bit of trouble at Croft as well. He just wants a quiet, clean, problem-free weekend here at Oulton Park, and so far so good because he bangs in the fastest lap time of the session so far by quite some margin of 1:35.54, 6.5 tenths quicker than Jack Harding, who goes second but is then beaten by Louis Capezzoli. You said Capezzoli was on it, and the lap times, Paul, indicate exactly that.
Yeah, just the actual attitude of the car. As you can see, these cars look like they're running a bit softer than usual. I've just noticed they just look like they're bouncing around a bit. Don't know if it's a camera angle we've got that we never usually have, but I've got to say, Alpha Live have done some brilliant stuff here. We've got some camera angles that I don't usually see, so we've got some great shots of how undulating this circuit is as they turn into the really sharp island hairpin, and Hobson is definitely going to be one to watch as well. That boy's quick.
10th fastest at the moment for Danny Hobson, 8th in the championship, a non-finish in the second race at Croft last time out, really sort of hurting his championship standings a little bit, but we haven't yet started looking at the complicated matter of dropped scores. We'll get into that later on in the season, but they could come to his rescue at the moment. Danny has been quick so far this season. Another one of the Area Motorsport cars, in fact the highest place of the Area Motorsport team in the championship right now, ahead of Max Edmondson, who currently is on provisional pole position. Morgan Bailey though now, Paul, the man going quickly, isn't he? Personal best Sector 1, purple Sector 2. Morgan 7th at the moment, but likely to improve.
Yeah, and Caton, who's directly behind him, as we look at some other Milltek Sports Civic Cup runners, but be interesting to see when they come across the line, which won't be long off, to see where Morgan pops up and where obviously Harvey Caton pops up as well. And it's Bailey second and Caton across the line is 6th.
Yeah, both improved, but Bailey in particular there didn't improve in the final sector, interestingly, seeing a few drivers starting to fade in the final sector of what was their third flying lap. Now, I know I've been talking about tyres and tyre management. It's not so much the wear of the tyres in these conditions, is it? It's just the fact that they do start to overheat. How many laps do you think they're going to get out of these tyres in temperatures like this before they maybe have to just cool them off a bit?
Well, that's a very interesting question. There's only 8 minutes to go. They'll probably have set the tyre pressures as low as they can, and hopefully on their 4th or 5th lap, it's going to be the fastest they go, I'll be honest. You can cool them off just backing off, but sometimes it's not enough because the tarmac temperature will be quite high, even though it's pretty early in the morning. So, yeah, I don't think we're going to have, a last gasp winner, so to speak, unless somebody comes in, repressurises the tyres in the pits and goes again. But I'm usually wrong.
As am I. We're the perfect people to be talking you through everything happening in the session right now. We are getting more personal best sectors coming in, actually. Bailey and Alistair Camp, who has jumped into 3rd position at the moment, both going personal best in Sector 1, but then again, Sector 2 not really able to get down to the sort of times they were running earlier on, so perhaps the best of the tyres have been had. Here is Max Edmondson. If we want some excitement today, Paul, I think we could do worse than train our cameras on this car. He always seems to be in the thick of it, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does. Oh, and Owen Hillman, that's not good. Is that out of the way? That looks like it's on the track, doesn't it?
I think it might be on the Foster's cut through, possibly. If we zoom out a bit, we'll be able to see better, but that's a real shame, isn't it?
Yeah, no cars coming past, so yeah, right, so he's got out the way. That's great stuff. Waved yellow, yellow comes in. He's well out the way. Good driving there. That's proper stuff. Fair play.
Yeah, absolutely. He's actually gone back on himself, hasn't he, to get out of the way, but that is safe. We saw the yellow flags going in the background, so briefly there, drivers will have been having to slow down at that part of the track. but no longer. Now, interestingly, Paul, Morgan Bailey has bailed for the pit lane, so he is going to come in, maybe readjust those tyre pressures, cool everything off, and have another stab at this later on. And it looks as though the Pro Alloys boys doing the same thing. Will Redford there coming in, one of his teammates ahead, and the returning Dave Buki as well. Dave doesn't tend to do full season campaigns anymore in Civic Cup, but the Kinetic Motorsport boss back on track at his local circuit, hoping for good things today, I'm sure.
Yeah, waved yellow there then, so that will be for Owen Hillman's car pulled off on the Foster's loop, like you rightly said. So that is going to be a bit of a pain for a lot of people, but it'll be good for the people coming in and repressuring their tyres. Pro Alloys, like you say, I'm just looking down the pit lane. They're out of the way, so yeah. This could be last gasp attempt, and if they get the pressures right, they could be absolutely spot on. But there could be other things happening in the pit lane as well. There could be a change with the setup. Sometimes you want a bit of rake in the car, so you make the front a bit lower to the floor, or you pull the rear up. And as I say, pull the rear up. Ryan Bensley there cocking a left rear, looking like a dog having a wee.
Which I'm sure you've called him worse than that over the years, Paul. Got his first win, finally, last time out at Croft. That was a fantastic moment, a really popular win as well. I mean, Ryan is a very popular member of the paddock. And finally, I feel starting to deliver on what his potential is. Car in the gravel at Druids, and I think that car might have gone over as well, did it? No, it's still on its wheels. It's bounced off the barriers. It's one of the area cars, but through the cloud of dust, couldn't quite spot who that was. Oh, it's Capezzoli. It's Louis Capezzoli, who has dropped down to 4th on the grid at the moment, but he was a very lucky boy. It looked for a horrifying moment there, Paul, like the car was going to dig him.
Yeah, a big dust cloud, wasn't it? But he's obviously got it wrong going into Druids. He should be okay if he doesn't reverse too much into that gravel, but the gravel's seeming like it's pretty compact, so yeah, gets on with it.
Lucky.
That'll be I'd like to think he's going to go straight back to the pits there, because it's not a strange place to go off, but if you've got any kind of brake problems, they will come apparent there, and the heat and the attrition that they're going to feel today will be huge, because around here is the hardest on brakes for any race car, and we've seen it before with different championships where brakes become a big problem. You ever follow one of these cars round in the race, I'll guarantee you'll see the brake lights flickering, and that is the driver tapping the brakes in a straight line on full power, trying to get the brake pads next to the brake disc, because they've been rattled off by the quite aggressive curbs here on the exits of the corners.
Well, if you want to talk about brake issues at Oulton Park, just go and have a chat with Jordan Brennan, who had that sizable shunt here a year ago. He's back in action, but hasn't yet set a representative lap time, interestingly, so there may be issues for the Liquid Moly driver. Into the pits, rightly so, did come Louis Capezzoli. It looked as though maybe the front and rear bodywork's been pulled loose, but apart from that, he has got away with a monumental moment there at the fastest corner on the circuit. So the team just having a chat with him, and he will report back as to what the issue was. Meanwhile, back on track, people still trying to set improved lap times. Not a huge amount of them coming in at the moment. Dan Thackeray has improved to 6th on his most recent effort, but a lot of drivers actually making their way back out of the pit lane and giving this one more crack at beating Max Edmondson to pole position. Max was on pole last time at Croft, so we know he's got pole position potential. And at the moment, a quarter of a second, Paul, given how tight the rest of the field are, is a decent little margin.
It's a decent little margin, and I'll stick my neck on the line and say I'll be interviewing Mr. Max Edmondson after this, because I can't see anybody going quicker than that. There are greens here and there, but nothing from the top 6 or 7 that would challenge him, really. Wow, that's a nice shot. And is he going to put his tongue through that?
Doesn't look very happy, does he? Rightly so. I think that was Louis. Yeah, it was Louis Capezzoli. He's probably contemplating what he's just got away with that big moment up at Druids Corner. So it'll be interesting to see here whether we get a flurry of late improvements. We've got 2.5 minutes left on the clock, and as we've said, with a number of drivers having come in for adjustments of some kind, it'll be interesting to see whether that has the desired effect once they get back out there, back into the rhythm. Here comes Harvey Caton towards us, Dave Buki in behind. Buki, one of a couple of drivers I've seen having lap times disallowed for track limits, but not quite as many offences as I expected to see so far today. It is one of those tracks, though, Paul, in fairness, which is a little bit self-policing with track limits. You don't want to be running any wider here than you have to.
No, I mean, you'll lose time, I'll be honest, at some of the corners with pressure pads and places with track limits. But I've got to say, the new rule that's come in, only come in on the 1st of June, I think it was, and if it's policed well enough, there's nothing wrong with the rule, and that is all I'll say on it.
Rightly so. Right, out of Lodge Corner then comes one of the Pro Alloys cars up across the line. And are we going to see any more improvements in lap time here? Dan McDonald just improved into 12th position with that most recent effort that he made. Few personal best sectors coming in for people like Will Redford and Dan Thackeray, but not combined yet to be an improved lap time. Jack Harding comes through, Max Edmondson into the pit lane, a couple of people into the pits, and this is now the end of their session then, essentially. Max Edmondson feels that he can't improve, and he is going to stay where he was. Dave Marshall there, a little bit sideways into Old Hall Corner.
Go on, Dave. That's because the FN2 hasn't got a rear wing on the top. There's a bit of oversteer there, wasn't it? Top lad him. Love him to bits, and the car looking pretty loose, and fair play. He's slinging it around, isn't he? And it's good to see a different shape of car in the Milltek Sports Civic Cup.
Yeah, two of them together, actually, because Jeff Oulton is right behind. There is Jeff, a bit of a stalwart of the championship these days, and these two not exactly working together necessarily, but they have found each other on the track. Marshall at the moment 20th on the grid provisionally, and Jeff Oulton 23rd. Just had an improvement for Andy Wheatley into 18th place as well, who's not raced anything for a year, and that's a big spin for Andy Wheatley. That was good timing, wasn't it? Out of Cascades he went, and another driver, Paul, who can count himself very, very lucky.
Oh, do you know, he's going to pull off. I think he's scared himself. That's interesting why he's pulled off. There must be a problem there, because he went off at such a rate. Look how close he is to the barrier on the left. That is coming out of Cascades, and that spin must have gone on for a lifetime, because he has got very far down towards the island hairpin. But yeah, back with Dave Marshall, one of my faves. Always a lovely guy to talk to in the championship for the right reasons, like a lot of these guys. And yeah, he looks like he's gapping Jeff, doesn't he?
Yeah, let's see what the sectors say. Personal best in Sector 2, so this could be an improvement for Marshall. Can he break a little bit further up inside the top 20? He is the highest placed of the FN2 Civics, slightly newer generation of Civic than the EP3s. Let's see what he can do then. Across the line he will go and sees the checkered flag. It's an improvement in time, but not in position. Stays in 20th place at the end of the session, because 15 minutes have passed by remarkably quickly, and Max Edmondson looks as though he is going to line up on pole position for the second event in a row. Can he make today the day that he picks up his first ever victory in the Milltek Sports Civic Cup? He'll have a couple of hard charges behind him, though, by the looks of it. Morgan Bailey second, Alistair Camp third, Louis Capezzoli, after that big lose up at Druids, will start fourth, with Will Redford fifth, Dan Thackeray sixth, Harvey Caton slightly disappointed with seventh, and championship leader Jack Harding only eighth on the grid. So that immediately is a storyline to follow. Jack Harding, perhaps that run of top 5 finishes that he's been on this season could come to an end in the first race later on. Danny Hobson and Alex Kite complete the top 10, whilst one of Alex's teammates here makes his way towards the pit lane. Andy Wheatley as well, who, having pulled over briefly, caught his breath, got going again, and now completes his qualifying session. One car running wide, might have been Dan McDonald, as Danny Hobson's going to come through and try and complete a lap. Hobson improved in the first sector on that lap, but ultimately the lap time not his fastest of the session. As one car, Alex Knight, not Alex Knight, that is Jackson White, excuse me, the Pro Alloys racing car, going very slowly around Old Hall Corner, but he has taken the checkered flag, I guess, so session comes to an end. He will tour gently back to the pit lane. So a session that wasn't without drama, it's fair to say, but Max Edmondson notches up his second pole of the season. As far as the other championship front runners, I know we're only 4 races in, but it's nearly halfway through the season now. It's not too early to start looking at the championship favourites. Well, I mentioned Jack Harding struggling there. Dan Thackeray 6th on the grid, he's 2nd in the points. Alistair Camp, therefore, in a good position. He is 3rd in the points. Nearly 40 points off the championship lead, though. Such has been Harding's dominance so far this season. But Alistair Camp, starting 3rd, could get a few of those points back. Morgan Bailey, then, who's 2nd on the grid, is 4th in the points. And Harvey Caton, 5th in the points, will start 7th. So they're all there or thereabouts. The sort of odd one out, in a way, is Louis Capezzoli, who should be further up than 10th in the standings. But as I said, that non-finish at Croft last time meant that he dropped a little bit further back, but has managed to stick it on the 2nd row, despite the high-speed spin. So cars then making their way down into Parc Fermé. That is where Paul O'Neill has headed as well. Hopefully very soon he'll be having a chat with our pole sitter. who will be Max Edmondson, a 1:35.547 the lap time in the end, and that was nearly a quarter of a second better than Morgan Bailey, who will line up alongside him. Alistair Camp then, former champion, will start third alongside Louis Capezzoli, with Will Redford and Dan Thackeray sharing the third row. Then it's Harvey Caton and Jack Harding, two who should be hoping to move forward from there when we go racing later on. Danny Hobson and Alex Kite complete the top 10. Then it's Ryan Bensley, our most recent race winner, starting 11th on the grid. Dan McDonald next ahead of Travis Chapman, and Dave Buki, who had a lap time disallowed for track limits, will start 14th. Then it will be Nick Charlier and Jack Riddell with Tommy Knight and Andy Wheatley. Impressive there. Andy hasn't raced anything for a year, and he has got himself into the top 20 solidly there. 19th will be Chris Coomer, and Dave Marshall, the best of the FN2s, will start 20th. Then it's Anthony Gannon, Simon Welch, Jeff Holden, Jackson White, Jordan Brennan, and Owen Hillman, who, according to that, never set a lap time. And that is true, of course. So he hadn't actually set a flying lap before he pulled off to the side of the road. So Owen Hillman, really one to watch for if they can get that car fixed later on. So qualifying done then here at Oulton Park for the Milltek Sports Civic Cup. It's a second pole position of the season for Max Edmondson, but can he convert that into a first race victory? You'll have to tune in a bit later on this afternoon for the 2 Civic Cup races here at Oulton Park.
And we are racing, and it's an absolutely electric start for the 42 of Will Redford from the wide entry. That's a racing line. Will Redford drifts in the back end quite a bit, but look at that, a massive lunge up the inside by Matt Ruff on Alistair Camp through the first couple of corners.
Huge lock-up.
That's a 66.
It's terrible.
On the outside. Jumped on! Oh! Big off! Straight in the gravel trap. Both cars out. Winning earlier on, and look, this is trying to go round to the outside. Now this would probably be move of the day.